is called regular ball, super ball. You are to create a class ball. Ball objects should accept one argument for ball type when instantiated. If no arguments are given, ball objects should instantiate with a ball type of quote regular. So they got a nice little example here. Ball 1 is using the default empty constructor here, and ball 2 is instantiated using this constructor that takes a string parameter. And notice the ball type, when not provided, should return regular, a default value, and if it is provided, simply return the value that it was originally created with. And so if we go over to this section, we notice that most of the class is made for us already here. We've got the ball class. Go ahead and pause and have a go at this one. You want to be good with these fundamentals and understand how objects are made. So come on back when you're ready. Before we get right into the solution, I'll address the elephant in the room. In case you've never seen properties before, you might be looking at this weird thing where it looks pretty much like a member type that we have set up before, where you have an access modifier, a type, and a variable name. But then you got these curly braces and get set inside of them. And these are called properties. This video is not going to go over that. It's not concerned with that. But just to sum it up briefly, if you can think of the previous challenge we did with getters and setter methods, it's basically a really nice shorthand way of writing all of that. So you have a type here, and then you can specify methods for accessing it in this sort of a very shorthand way. So they'll no doubt come up in other challenges. We'll get to it. If you want to work ahead, just search for C# properties. Anyway, on to this. This is a constructor. In case you weren't familiar with that, you can kind of think of it like a method, but there's no return type, and the name is called after the class name. So this is the code that runs when you make a statement like this and create a new object of that type. And so if you want to think again in terms of methods, these can be overloaded. So, and remember method overloading, we've seen that where there are multiple copies of a method with the same name, but they can differ in the parameter lists that they have. They may take parameters of different types. And so you could do that here. You could make another constructor that doesn't take any argument. And in that case, this is like usage 1 here, ball 1. You could simply set the ball type equals regular. That was the default value they wanted us to use, And then you could go to this one that explicitly takes a string for a type, representing a type, and you could say ball type equals ball type. And this looks a little weird because it's the same thing, and we're going to have trouble right now. Personally, I wouldn't name the parameter name the exact same as the member name here. You still can if you want to. There's a way around that. You can invoke the this keyword, which refers to the object itself. So it knows when I say this.ballType that it's talking about the object's own property, not some random parameter that's passed in by the user. So you can do it that way if you like. I just wouldn't copy names there. And that goes back to some of the things we mentioned before about how public types would have capital letter, private ones could have a leading underscore, and you sort of, beyond the benefits mentioned before, you kind of avoid some of this stuff too. But you can try running it without the this. You'll get some kind of warning about that. It's ambiguous, right? Like, hey, what are you talking about? Again, put yourself in the position of the compiler trying to say some variable is equal to itself, and kind of weird. So yeah, anyway, this should work if we do this. We've just made we overloaded the constructor, so to speak, made 2 different versions of it that will get called as necessary. you know, this second statement ball2 would run through this logic right here. You know, you could put print statements in here if you didn't believe me, and, you know, console write line, hey, I'm in the string constructor, and then you could put another print statement in here and say I'm the default constructor, and then, you know, you could execute these statements and see what gets printed if you wanted to verify that and not just take my word for it. So this should be okay. It's not the way I'll submit my answer, but you can make multiple constructors for your various needs. In this case, I'll do it in a shorter way. Instead, if you recall, we talked about optional parameters with methods in a previous challenge, and I can sort of leverage that here, where I can kind of make this constructor pull double duty. I can say, turn this into an optional parameter with the default value of regular. And so this logic will get executed no matter which version of these I use, right? If I use the first one, it'll sub in regular for the ball type automatically for me. And in the case of the second one, it'll take whatever the user put in and use that. It'll overwrite the regular value with whatever was provided. And again, with the optional parameters, just remember they always have to be at the end of the parameter list. There's only one parameter here, so that's fine. But yeah, I think this achieves the same thing. It's nice that you have one sort of scope for doing whatever kind of constructor work you have to do. You can think of the previous way I did it, where there were two different scopes, or I don't want to say methods, two different constructor bodies where you could have a bunch of work being done. You wouldn't want to repeat that. And typically when you see people go that approach, they're going to call the other constructor from one of the other ones, so they're not duplicating the code and having to maintain two lists of statements if something were to change. And that's good. In this case, I think this works fine. We'll try running the test on that. Looks good. Let's go for the larger set. Still good. So we'll be able to submit like this. So yeah, this is, you got to know this, fundamentals of classes and instantiating objects. Your constructor is your gateway into making actual objects of your class. So yeah, good stuff. We'll submit this, see what kind of other answers we see. And yeah, a lot of people did the same thing here. Used a default value of regular. You could see here they went the route where they made another empty default constructor here, but they're invoking this one from it, so they don't have to repeat this ball type equals regular, you know. They don't have to write a statement in the body here. They basically say, hey, just call this one with the value regular. So yeah, it's a good way. Feel free to look through the rest of these, get some other ideas. But yeah, pretty basic example here. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hit me up in the comments with comments or questions. Thanks for watching.